Tonight on the program, the revival of the Landbridge dream. Why is Anutin's government doing it now, and will it ever be a success? Then we have a special interview with a veteran journalist on global press freedom and the continued popularity of Thai durian. Swadika, I'm Nad Bunag and welcome to This Week with Thai PBS World. We begin tonight with the Landbridge project, discussions on which have resurfaced during the past week. This mega infrastructure project, which aims to push Thailand as a logistics hub of the region, has been stalled many times by several governments. Now it is being revived again under Anutin's leadership, but the plans to revive it also comes with the same old concerns. The Landbridge project is Thailand's proposed mega project, which will connect the Gulf of Thailand with the Andaman Sea. This will link Chumphon province on the Gulf Coast with Ranong province on the Andaman coast, with a road and rail system for the transport of goods between the two ports. It is claimed that the Landbridge will shorten the distance for cargo currently using the Strait of Malacca and will save about 4 transit days. This project will include the development of deep sea ports, a 90-kilometer motorway linking the two provinces, a railway system, and a pipeline. It is estimated that the massive project will cost a whopping 1 trillion baht. Once the construction is complete, each seaport will be able to handle 20 million cargo containers per year. The Landbridge project is actually nothing new, because there have been ideas and plans to link the two coasts since ancient times, particularly during the reign of King Rama IV. Thai governments in the past, from the Prayut Chan-o-cha to the Sethar Thavisin administrations, have tried to push for the construction of the project, but it has been repeatedly stalled due to concerns over budget and environmental impacts. Thailand's Transport Minister Pipat Ratchakitprakarn said that the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz has highlighted the strategic importance of key shipping lanes and is providing significant impetus for Thailand to develop the project to provide an additional logistics link between the Indian and Pacific Oceans bypassing the Strait of Malacca.
เอาว่าน่าจะมิถุนาหรือกรกฎาคมเราต้องเข้าแล้วเพื่อจะเร่งนับหนึ่งให้ได้ภายในปีนี้มันนานมากเลยตั้งแต่ใครอะรัฐบาลนี้เป็นรัฐบาลที่4เป็นรูปธรรมตั้งแต่ลุงตู่มาท่านเศรษฐามาท่านนายกอิงรัฐบาลท่านก็ถือว่า4รัฐบาลมันก็เมื่อผลการศึกษาออกมาแล้วคิดว่าลงทุนได้มันก็ควรลงทุนและยิ่งเกิดเหตุการณ์ช่องแคบฮอร์มุซตรงนี้เนี่ยเราก็ถือว่าตรงนี้เป็นโอกาสของประเทศไทย
Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul seems certain that the project would be beneficial to Thailand and would boost its economic growth. Interestingly, the revival of the Landbridge project was not mentioned in Anutin's policy statement.
ในส่วนของประเทศไทยเองถ้าเราสามารถมีสิ่งที่เราพึ่งพาตนเองได้แล้วก็เกิดประโยชน์เกิดรายได้เกิดความมั่งคั่งทางเศรษฐกิจเราก็ต้องเร่งพิจารณา
Thailand even claimed that Singapore has expressed interest in the project. The Landbridge project was among the issues discussed between Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul and Singapore's Defense Minister Chan Chun Sing this past Monday. The Thai government spokesperson claims that Singapore expressed interest, citing that the project will not only increase logistics connectivity in between the Gulf and the Andaman Sea, but it is also an opportunity to attract more foreign direct investment. The opposition voiced strong objection, though, and noted suspicions as to why the project is being pushed.
จริงๆจากเหตุการณ์ที่เกิดขึ้นเร็วๆนี้เนี่ยมันเป็นตัวบ่งบอกว่าการสร้างจุดที่อาจจะกลายเป็นถูกมองว่าเป็นจุดยุทธศาสตร์จะสามารถดึงประเทศเข้าไปสู่ความขัดแย้งได้ง่ายมากนะครับเพราะฉะนั้นประเด็นเหล่านี้เนี่ยกลับกลายเป็นประเด็นที่ยังไม่มีการพูดถึงหรือชี้แจงมาจากทางรัฐบาลนะครับแล้วก็ที่สังเกตแล้วก็ตั้งข้อสังเกตตั้งแต่วันที่ผมอภิปรายนโยบายก็คือว่า นโยบายนี้เนี่ยพรรคภูมิใจไทยเนี่ยไม่ยื่นกับกกต.แต่ไปพูดหาเสียงนะครับและวันนี้ก็ไม่อยู่ในนโยบายที่แถลงต่อสภาแต่จะไปพูดที่กระทรวงพูดที่พรรคนะครับทั้งที่เป็นโครงการขนาดใหญ่มากมีผลกระทบกับทั้งประเทศกับประชาชนจำนวนมากครับ
While the Thai government under Anutin's leadership aims to revive the Landbridge project, the investment into it requires much consideration. And to determine whether the investment into the project will be worth it, there are still many other things to consider. A study was previously revealed by the Thailand's Office of Transport and Traffic Policy and Planning. And based on the study, the investment of about 1 trillion baht will be split into 3 phases. And this is how much is expected to be spent for this particular project. And most of the investment will be used for the restructuring of the seaports in both Ranong and Chumphon provinces, motorways and railways as part of the Landbridge project, as well as the development of the commercial areas around it. The investments into the Landbridge project are huge. So what are the expectations for the returns on investment? They hope that during the first 2 years after the Landbridge project is open, the seaports in both Ranong and Chumphon provinces will see over 3 million containers or 20-foot equivalent units each, and the numbers will multiply to 8 million TEUs with an ultimate goal of 20 million in the next few decades. As for the economic growth, once the Landbridge is finally complete, they expect that the local economy in the 2 provinces will expand by 36% and 32% respectively during the first 10 years of the Landbridge project. They also hope that the economy in the southern region will expand to about 31%, bringing the national GDP growth to 5.5%. And apart from the economic growth, they also hope that the Landbridge project will increase job opportunities to up to 280,000 jobs in both provinces. These numbers are actually very huge, but the TDRI says that the return on investment of the Landbridge project looks unrealistic. The TDRI pointed to 3 issues, namely the amount of transshipment, the economic growth figures, and job opportunities. The TDRI cited the current Lam Chabang port in Chonburi province, which recorded only 8.9 million TEUs in 2023, which is much lower than what is being aimed for in the Landbridge project. This means that the government's target of reaching up to 31% of GDP for the southern region following the Landbridge project is far from possible. Whether the Landbridge project is worth it or not, I spoke with 2 economists to find out what the underlying challenges are if the government insists on continuing with this project. The Landbridge, Thailand's mega infrastructure project that has been touted to improve the country's economy. Despite this ambitious dream, the project itself has been stalled by 3 Thai governments over the past decade. Now it's being revived under the leadership of Anutin Chanvirakul, believing that the project will become a huge economic opportunity following disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. While the project aims to link the 2 coasts on the Gulf and the Andaman Sea to boost logistics connectivity, how the project will begin is still up in the air. Thai economist Nonarit Pisonyabut listed 2 reasons why the Landbridge project is going nowhere. Apart from the environmental impacts, which have resulted in massive pushback from local residents, the country's fiscal situation is already at risk, as Thailand's public debt to GDP is now 66%, while its current debt ceiling is capped at 70% of GDP. This means there won't be room for the government to borrow more.
So what follows is that then the government needs to use different type of operation in order to make this thing work, which is called the PPP type of project. The PPP type is public and private partnership, where the government will not put all the money to do the project, but need to find the private sector who likely to invest certain part for this project. Kun Anutin, I think 2 elections ago, he put down this project as zero budget project, which means that he will try to make it happen with 100% money spent by the private sector. So the government will help just preparing the land, will help with the registration, maybe tax break, but will not put any money in it. So this is quite a challenging promise.
With the investment estimated at 1 trillion baht, borrowing may not be as concerning compared to the return on investment. A recent study by Chulalongkorn University and Nestec even confirmed that the Landbridge project would not boost the economy as the government may have hoped.
1 trillion baht is roughly 5% of the GDP. If this project fails, then this is just another consumption, investment type in Thailand. And if you look at the Southern project in the past, this is not just one new thing, right? We have tried to create economy in the southern part of Thailand, and it failed miserably.
Thailand's Landbridge project is already facing 2 major competitors, Malaysia and Singapore. Malaysia already has a similar mega project known as the East Coast Rail Link or ECRL, linking the east and west coasts of the country, including its largest seaport, Port Klang. The ECRL is set to start operations in January 2027. In Singapore, the expansion of Tuas ports is already underway to cope with the increase in cargo ships using the Strait of Malacca. The expansions of the world's second largest seaport is expected to be complete by 2040. International trade expert Dr. At Pisanwanit feels that competing with regional giants like Singapore and Malaysia is already an uphill battle.
สิงคโปร์ก็ไม่เห็นด้วยมาเลเซียก็ไม่เห็นด้วยเขาจะเห็นด้วยได้ไงเนี่ยเมื่อมาแย่งรายได้ของเขาอะมันมาแย่งสินค้าหน้าบ้านเขาที่ปกติสินค้าผ่านไปทางหน้าบ้านเขานะครับเนี่ยที่ 1อันที่ 2เนี่ยสิงคโปร์เขามาพบนายกรัฐมนตรีไทยสิ่งที่ต้องในทางการทูตเขาต้องพูดว่าสนับสนุนได้เห็นด้วยเขาคงไม่มาพบนายกรัฐมนตรีแล้วบอกว่าไม่เห็นด้วยนะสิ่งที่ยูทำเนี่ยมันไม่เข้าท่านะมันขัดกับผลประโยชน์ของสิงคโปร์เขาไม่สามารถจะพูดแบบนั้นได้ด้วยทางการทูตก็ต้องพูดว่าสนับสนุน
Despite the government's ambitious plan, both economists agree that the investment is not worth it.
จริงๆเนี่ยถ้ารัฐบาลตั้งหลักถอยกลับมาสัก1 ก้าวคิดในส่วนที่โครงการที่ประเทศไทยมีเนี่ยทำไม่เสร็จซึ่งมีหลายโครงการที่ยังทำไม่เสร็จโครงการรถไฟความเร็วสูงก็ยังไม่เสร็จโครงการระเบียงเศรษฐกิจใน5 ภาคเนี่ยก็ยังไม่เสร็จนะพวกนี้ถ้าเราอัปเกรดพวกนี้ทั้งเรื่องถนนทั้งเรื่องรถไฟทั้งเรื่องของโลจิสติกทั้งเรื่องของฮับของอุตสาหกรรมในพื้นที่ต่างๆไอ้นี้ก็จะเกิดผลกระทบทางเศรษฐกิจมหาศาลนะโดยไม่จำเป็นต้องไปคิดโครงการใหม่ๆซึ่งมันมีความเสี่ยงอย่างที่ว่า
Nad Bunag reported for Thai PBS World. And it looks like the Landbridge project will still be caught up in the same old cycle. Several financial institutions have revised the economic growth figures for Thailand, with its GDP growth forecast for 2026 no higher than 1.5%. While Thailand's economic outlook will remain sluggish following tensions in the Middle East, the World Bank has listed 5 key industries that can still drive economic growth for this year. So from World Bank's perspective, how is Thailand coping with the global shocks while trying to stay resilient, especially in light of the tensions in the Middle East?
So Thailand is in a difficult position. We have one of the highest exposures to the Middle East conflict because of the oil imports, which is the largest in ASEAN region. Second is tourism. We have a very large tourism sector, around 13% of GDP. So that's also affected by the Middle East conflict. And thirdly, it's the manufactured exports, which is affected by global demand. So there are these three channels of the impact have resulted us in revising the forecast for Thailand's growth for this year down to 1.3%, which is low for the region, and then recovering to 2.2 next year.
Thailand relies heavily on imported energy as well as tourism. So what worries you the most about the country's economic outlook right now?
Because we import a lot of oil, a lot of sectors use oil for their inputs and production intermediate. And also we have households who use it for transport. So on the sector side, logistics are heavily affected. Domestic logistics, also air transport, manufactured products that use petroleum, and these are quite exposed. Households, because of the household debt burden that they're already carrying, that's around 87% of GDP, the highest in ASEAN. So we looked at which households are exposed. So it's a combination of debt and expenditure on oil and gas. So it turns out to be the middle class, because they spend quite a lot on their own transport costs. And then to a lesser degree also the poor, rising fuel, rising food prices.
Are there any other industries that are expected to see more growth in Thailand?
So we think there are many, and we have selected 5 using one is a global criteria. We look at sectors where demand is growing globally. And then the second criteria is we looking at Thailand. Does Thailand have some of the infrastructure or the skills and endowments needed to grow that sector, right? So taking those lens, we are now producing, it's a flagship report for Thailand ahead of the annual meetings in October, where we identify these 5 sectors. So one is on agribusiness, second is on advanced manufacturing, which includes green manufacturing, such as EVs, solar, air conditioning. Third is on tourism, particularly sustainable wellness and health tourism. And then on creative economy, where Thailand's already making progress in many areas. So, and the last one is digital. Digital refers to both digital technologies that can be used by people and companies, and as an enabler for other sectors, including tourism and manufacturing.
And with the higher energy costs and also the external pressures, does Thailand still have enough policy room to deliver?
So Thailand, we still see Thailand as having adequate fiscal and monetary room. So monetary, because inflation expectations are anchored, there's still room for the central bank to act using the interest rate tool. On fiscal, this is more difficult. So before COVID, Thailand had public debt was 40% of GDP, which was quite low. Right? After COVID, fast forward to today, it's around 66% of GDP, very close to the debt ceiling of 70%. But if you invest wisely on targeted measures, targeted spending, infrastructure that has productivity returns, you can actually raise growth, right? And that would result in public debt to GDP coming down. So it will go up, like you're walking up a hill, and it will come down. So for us, the trajectory, the slope is more important rather than just the level. So if you lay out a clear vision today in terms of what you're doing today, tomorrow, 5 years, what will happen to GDP, public debt, productivity, you can actually arrive at a trajectory that is sustainable in terms of debt and growth.
And now let's turn to the story. Press freedom is declining almost everywhere around the world. Even in the most democratic nations, we have already witnessed more political attacks against journalists and threats to cutting funds for public media, not to mention layoffs due to digital disruption. In our exclusive interview, I had a chance to speak with veteran Australian journalist Peter Greste as he tells us why he remains positive about the future of journalism. First of all, you've reported for the BBC, Reuters, Al Jazeera, but your detention in Egypt actually made global headlines. That was like over 10 years ago, right? So how did that experience reshape your view about press freedom?
Yeah, so that happened back in 2013 when I was arrested. And what happened then was that I was working, as you said, for Al Jazeera, covering the unfolding political crisis in Egypt. We saw ongoing street protests between rival supporters. One group was supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood that had been ousted from power in a military coup a few months previously. And then there were the supporters of the military-backed government that were already in there. And we'd been doing what we thought was legitimate journalism, just reporting from both sides of the crisis. But the interim government had started accusing the Muslim Brotherhood of being involved in terrorism. What happened to us was a really visceral example of the way in which, as I said, government had used national security laws and laws around terrorism to lock up and to silence uncomfortable journalism. The more I looked at it, the more I realised that that trend had pretty much continued since 9/11 all the way through. And even today, we're seeing journalists imprisoned at record rates around the world.
Why is journalism being so vulnerable, even in countries like the US now?
Not just political attacks. I mean, the Trump administration has threatened to withdraw the broadcasting licenses of news organisations that are overly critical. But here's the thing, I think it's a real mistake to see journalism as a threat to democracy. Good journalism keeps the system functioning well. It keeps it honest. Good journalism is the reason that we have elections that operate. It's the reason that people learn about. It's the way that people learn about the policies of the various politicians that they're voting for. It's the way that we can make sure that the state exercises its power responsibly. It's the mechanism that actually keeps democracy functioning. And if we lose that, then we end up in autocratic and authoritarian states. And we know that when that happens, you end up with increase in corruption, you end up with increase in increasing abuses of human rights, you end up with hoarding of power, you end up with all sorts of things which are contrary to the functioning of a good, healthy democracy.
Right, and of the major threats facing journalism today, whether it's the political attacks, the disinformation campaigns, economic pressure, or even the increase of AI, which one do you see as the most dangerous?
I would say the financial threat to the industry, because it doesn't matter what else is going on. If we don't have the money, if we don't have the resources to invest in good journalism, then everything else falls apart. You can't even begin to address the question of AI. You can't push back on mis and disinformation, the loss of public trust, government pressure. It all boils down to the money. And I'm not saying that journalists need to be greedy. In fact, nobody becomes, I'm sure you'd understand, no one gets into this business for the money. It's a famously difficult industry to survive in. But without enough financial resources, you can't invest in the kind of investigative journalism that we need to be doing. You can't produce journalism that holds to the ethical lines when you're operating in an environment that privileges speed over accuracy, polemic over serious reporting, sober analysis over shouty commentary. And so if we have enough financial resources as an industry, we can stay professional, we can stay independent, we can stay neutral, we can stay aggressive, we can cover stories that are difficult, we can cover stories that are expensive, we can do the investigations that might not necessarily yield yield big stories. But from time to time, we come up with ones that really need to be told. And so I think ultimately that's probably the single most important and most difficult threat.
Right, and looking ahead, how optimistic do you still feel about the future of journalism?
I think in the short term, I'm quite worried. I mean, all the pressures that you just listed earlier, whether it's financial or political or legal or technical, all of these seem to be working against good journalism. But I also, I take the long view. Ever since Grok painted the story of the bison hunt on the wall of a cave somewhere, we've needed people to record the world, the events of the world, and to help us make sense and understand the world that's going on around us. And I'm pretty confident that we will always need those people. We'll need the storytellers, the good journalists. And so I think there is a growing understanding that actually we need journalists who are operating with professionalism and integrity to help to give us a core of information that we can rely on to understand the world around us. And I think that's a positive sign.
And we'll end the program with more lighter stories. Thai durian has made headlines again following a series of live streams by the Commerce Ministry and famous Thai and Chinese influencers to boost the sales of Thailand's king of fruits. Selling durians at only 100 baht, as done during those live streams, has, however, sparked online controversy. Here's more with Ninya Kabush.
Everybody loves to sell, especially when durians, one of the most expensive fruit, can be bought for 100 baht. But durian sellers aren't very happy.
100 baht per durian is a new marketing strategy launched by Thailand's Ministry of Commerce. It increases sales of durian through promotions on social media platforms. It was a success. The 100 baht per durian phenomenon sold out in seconds with over 1 million orders on TikTok. Despite the success of live streams, the new marketing tactic is attracting criticism because the promotion undersells the cost and labor of durian farmers.
เป็นไปได้ในลูกเล็กๆมากๆค่ะซึ่งเป็นเขาเรียกเกรดตกไซส์ที่โดยปกติลงทั่วไปก็จะรับอยู่ที่70 บาท 80 บาทในราคาต่อกิโลกระทบค่ะกระทบแล้วก็เราก็แบบเราก็อยากให้เขารู้สึกดีที่เรามีขายผลผลิตที่ดีมีคุณภาพที่ดีแต่พอแบบมาลูกค้าร้อยเราก็ตัดสินใจลำบากว่าราคาของมันมันเป็นราคาโลละ100ไม่ได้
ขายเป็นลูกโลละ160 บาทค่ะถึง170เป็นพันหมอนทองค่ะถ้าลูกละ100มันเป็นเบอร์ป๊อกแป๊กค่ะมันต้องเป็นช่วงทุเรียนที่ล้นตลาดมันก็มีก็ขายได้ค่ะมันเป็นเบอร์ไซส์โลนึงหรือโลกว่าที่เป็นเบอร์เขาเรียกว่าเบอร์เล็กเบอร์จิ๋วนะคะแต่ถ้าเบอร์สวยขายไม่ได้ค่ะเพราะราคารับมันไม่ได้อยู่แล้วก็ซื้อมากขึ้นนะคนมาถามว่าลูกละ100มีไหม ค่ะก็ตอบลูกค้าก็คือว่ามันต้องเป็นถ้าทุเรียนออกเยอะจริงๆอาจจะเป็นเดือนหน้าที่เป็นของใต้ออกมาชนกับของจันทร์ระยองอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะที่หลายๆจังหวัดที่ปลูกอยู่ถ้าผลผลิตออกมาเยอะก็อาจจะเป็นไปได้ที่เป็นเบอร์เล็กนะคะไม่ใช่เบอร์สวย
The typical weight of a durian ranges between 2 and 6 kilograms, and depending on the grade and type of durian, prices can vary. The selling price can be anything from 65 to 5,000 baht per kilogram. Durian loan or durian packing houses are the intermediaries between farmers and sellers. Farmers sell their durian to loan, who determine the grade of each durian. They are divided into categories, grade A and B, and grade C. Grades A and B are the most profitable grades, which means they are without any insect bites, rot, and are in great shape. The smaller fruits would be considered grade C. After the sorting process, the packing house will proceed with export. Durian exports have hit a setback though. This year, Supaji Suthampan, the Minister of Commerce, said there is a 30% oversupply of Thai durian.
Will this beloved fruit be the Thai government's punchiest challenge in figuring out how to help farmers? Nina Kabush reporting for Thai PBS World.
Well, it's not going to be that possible if you're going to sell durians at only 100 baht. And that's all for this edition of This Week with Thai PBS World. Join us every Friday at 10 p.m. only on Thai PBS. You can also follow us on social media and our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest stories and analyses about Thailand. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ